Hi, Catherine. Hi, Zhao. Hi, Scott. Hi, Natalia. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm really sorry. Let's wait a couple more seconds.
And I was hoping to do a little bit in this one and then a little bit in the
Okay.
lower pool as well, if that's possible.
We'll just give them just 2 more seconds, and then I'll go into a very quick spiel, and then we'll give you the platform. All right, it's probably good enough. They would have popped in. So, hi everyone. I'm Benjamin. I am the head of upper school here at Green School Bali. So that's middle school and high school grades 6 to 12. I am responsible for, I guess, a lot of the stuff going on in the upper school, everything from the learning programs, the pastoral, to just making sure that um, yeah, just making sure that the students, the learners have the most enriching learning experience they could possibly have, and whatever that might look like. Just to give you a background, I'm originally from France, although you can't tell with the accent. I left France in 1989 when I was 15. Um, I worked in Silicon Valley as a consultant. That was my first career. Then in London and Japan as a consultant. Gave it all up to go get a PhD in history. So I was really happy there was a social studies question. Then got into education when I had kids because I got more energy from kids than I do out of most adults. And I've been in some of the world's most progressive schools. I've been very lucky, very fortunate to learn from some amazing educators. And I really believe that well, I believe in two things. One is that Green School is one of the best positioned schools to be a beacon to respond to ecological breakdown. I make no apology about that. We are living in times where we need to have responses, and that traditional systems maybe might be contributing to some of the problems. And also, I believe that the role of Green School is to have young people who are happy and learning within the context of sustainability and regeneration. And that might seem a little bit basic to say happy and learning, but actually it is so difficult to have the young people be both happy and learning at the same time. There's a lot of complexities that are involved in that simple little motto. So that's just a very quick elevator ride. So I would love to open to any questions you might have. Let's start with Catherine.
I was kind of curious about what most of, if there's any sort of like breakdown on what the students do once they leave green school.
Oh, that's a good question. So can I ask first of all what age your children are? Or what grade?
That's actually why I was trying to do both groups. Our kids are only 6.
Okay, six. Okay. So if they're only six and they graduate in, let's say, 12 years, who knows what that's going to look like? And that this is like, let's just say it, what has been said many, many, many times. When you and I went to school, we pretty much knew what was going to happen. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to my daughter. She's in grade 9. She's 15. I have no idea. So that is an added layer of complexity again, and we have many, many here in this area. So currently, we have 76% of our students who go to university and 24% that start their own businesses or their own endeavors or go straight into employment. A lot of times, not a lot of times, but some of the times, these are their greenstones or their grade 12 capstones that morph into some kind of enterprise and business. So that's actually awesome. And then later on, they might go back to university. And so the 76%, yeah, they go to school, go to the same schools in the US, Europe, Australia, wherever it is that anybody else goes. But we do have less. I have suggested to bring that down to 50%, but that's my own personal bias because I think it'd be wonderful if kids started up their own thing or went directly to corporate. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but my job is to make sure that there is as many pathways as possible for all learners so that it's not just a treadmill of going to university. It's really opening up options and telling wonderful stories to have pathways open up.
Sorry about that. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the answer.
Anyone else? All right, my job is easy. Okay, let me let me let me tell you a little bit about do we have anyone here who is it mostly middle school, high school, otherwise? Well, I'll give you a rundown. I'll start with middle school. Middle school is probably it looks a little bit more traditional than high school in terms of the program, in terms of the timetable. Um, what is different, and we're going to make it even more, I think, appropriate next year. We'll start with math. That seems to be something that people are really highly uh, sensitive to. Math, for instance, is a mixed aged experience in middle school. So they go in, and at the beginning of each unit, they take a pre-assessment, and then they get placed in a class that is appropriate for the level of exposure that they have. So it's not about whether or not they're good or bad in math, it's a level of exposure. So it has the same sequence as most math programs. It's mapped to the US Common Core. So either you're doing data or numbers or shapes or whatever. But you go in there and you have a pre-assessment about your understanding of shapes, and then you get placed where you are. And so we have sixth graders who can be with eighth graders, seventh graders, and that makes it so that the level of differentiation is a lot less, because you can imagine with 51 different nationalities, a math curriculum in France looks different from a math curriculum in the United States, which is different from a math curriculum in California, which is different from a math curriculum in New York sometimes. So given that, it's very challenging to put everybody in a grade level at the same math class. So we do it by level of exposure. For those who are really, really gifted mathematicians, and by that I mean 18 plus months ahead of everybody else, we even put our students in the high school math program. We've got two grade eights that are in Algebra 2. And one of them is already dipping into pre-calculus. So that's something that we're quite flexible with in terms of the schedule. We do the same thing with some science experience. If someone is really, really into science, really, really gifted, we have them be with the high school classes. I fully appreciate that acceleration isn't always the best for our students because it creates gaps. I completely know this. So we take this very seriously under account. Our literacies program, I don't call it literacy, it's literacies, is grade level appropriate. And that's because it's tied to what next year will be regenerative design. And so those kind of work together so that they design things in regenerative ways, which is very simply design that creates the conditions conducive to life, and that could be whatever it might need for the local needs, local problems, local solutions, in ways that are kind to the earth. And then the literacies underscores this so that they have something to talk about, something to write about. So that's something we're very excited about. For high school, it's quite different, actually. They're all mixed age classes. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are all mixed age. However, the students do tend to move towards, like grade 9 will generally be with grade 9 simply because they're foundations classes. Grade 11 and 12 will be with grade 11 and 12 because they are advanced classes. So there's no reason a grade 9 can't take an advanced class, and there's no reason a grade 12 can't take a foundations class, but they do tend to work in cohorts. And at the beginning of each term, or at the end of each term, depending, they look through a catalog and they pick the classes that they want. So to fulfill a humanities credit, for instance, they could take, I don't know, Japanese medieval poetry, if that's a class on offer, or existentialist literature, or they could take any other permutation of a humanities class. The same thing for science. They could either take either maybe a class on cardiopulmonary systems or a class in physics. It would count for the same thing. And because of the number of classes we require, it tends to be pretty evened out. And also, please know that in both middle school and high school, if a student wants to take a class, they could just suggest it. And we've created many classes based on student suggestions and what they want. They wanted a sports science class for next year. We'll have one. We had an existentialist literature class because they wanted one. We had an equal entrepreneurship class because they wanted one. So these are all things that we can do, which I think is super exciting.
I think we have questions from Gitanjali. You can open.
Oh, in the chat?
Yes.
Well, let's see what we have. Do students come to Green School for just a year? My son is now in grade 8 and would be grade 9 in September. Yeah, it does happen just a year. We found actually yesterday I learned that 2/3 of our leaving parents came here for a short amount of time, but stayed longer than expected. So it does happen. It's not an issue for us. Clearly, we'd love for them to be there grade 9, 10, 11, 12, but it does happen. So they can't stay for a year. And hopefully they'll have such a wonderful experience that they'll bug you at the dinner table to stay. What else? Any other questions? I will tell you, warts and all. I'm not here to blow smoke. All right, easy enough. What about you, Natalia? How old are your kids?
Hi, I am actually trying to type a question.
Okay.
Well, my children are 13 and 9,
Okay.
and I'm interested. We discussed it before in the previous room, but I didn't get an answer quite as I expected. So I want to ask you, what language is an option in high school? So I understand Bahasa is a compulsory language. What other languages can they learn?
So that's a good question, and an important one. The reason why Bahasa is compulsory is because we have such an emphasis on the local culture. We have such an emphasis on making sure that we're not just an international school in the middle of Indonesia that lives by itself and so forth. So that's why it's all part of that, bringing in the culture. And that's 1 year of Bahasa. In high school, they can take language lab, which is self-study. They're in indirect ways encouraged to learn French, Spanish, or Portuguese. The reason is that the teacher who is leading language lab is fluent in all three languages. So it just helps in terms of conversation. But it's not obligatory if they want to learn Swedish or Japanese, that's possible too. As you can understand, having uh, communities from so many different places, we can't teach languages like in other schools because we don't have like it would just take an enormous amount of human resources. So they can learn anything. Most of it will be self-study unless it's those three languages where they can have conversation groups. And that's all through high school.
Thank you very much. And another question I have. So my children, they at the moment currently they study at Montessori school.
Mhm.
So a lot of it is project based.
Mhm.
So they're given a project, they can choose the project and like work independently on that project themselves, and then present it when they finished.
Mhm.
There is something similar, right, at Green School. So there's a lot of project based work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is. Now, it's not every time in every class. It's not everything's project all the time, but that is possible. There's another way to look at this. Our assessments, and this might get a bit get like very geeky educator talk. So if it is, just bear with me. But our assessments are based on I can statements. So I can statements are broad statements that the students should be able to demonstrate that they can do something or understand something at the end of the term. So for instance, I can make one up that's silly so that I don't get myself in trouble because I don't remember exactly what some are. Well, actually, no, I'll give you one that I do in my class. Um, I can I can present orally in such a way to move my audience to action. That's very broad. And that is all about presentation skills, but more importantly, about getting influencing others. So I can do that in different ways. I can do that with a PowerPoint slide. I can do that in maybe some kind of a documentary that I can make. I can probably even do interpretive dance. It doesn't really matter so long as I move the audience. So it's in the way the assessments and the learning artifacts are constructed that there's a lot of choice. Even though not everything is project based, we try to, sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, but it's in the way the assessments are done. So that's where there's the choice rather than having, a worksheet that they have to get for a grade. Sometimes that does happen, but we try to make it so that it doesn't. Certainly in literacies, that doesn't happen at all. So there is that amount of choice. And just to end this quickly, I really believe that learners, like we should hone their strengths, honor their strengths rather than always think about it in terms of deficits and filling gaps. So this ability to show that is really important. And if there are gaps and needs, we work with the strengths in order to compensate them.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let me hear. So students grade 9, no. What's the admissions process? I'll let Adi respond to that maybe. you respond to that, Adi, about the already on the chat? Even better. Awesome.
May I ask, what time do children in high school arrive to school generally, and what time do they leave?
8:15 to 3:15 every day.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have 8:15 to 8:30 is check-in where they come in, take attendance, any kind of announcements, drop your phone off. And then 3 to 3:15 is the opposite. Pick your phone up, check in or check out actually. And that's always in their advisory group. So we have a check-in and check out. And then afterwards it's yeah, it depends on the day, what their schedule is, but then they're in the school. Grade 11 and grade 12 have off-campus privileges for snack and for lunch. And that is based on a fairly, a trust-based system. And as long as you are that works, and that's wonderful. There's plenty of restaurants and cafes here. They love that having that responsibility. Our number one priority is safety. Our number one priority is having, following the I respect values. And we find that that's a wonderful way to make, keep them responsible. But 8:15 to 3:15 is mandatory.
And what kind of extracurriculum activities are there in high school?
So not many, I have to say. So there's Model United Nations, and there might be some here and there, but we don't find that there are many high schoolers tend not to do after school activities. They tend to just go or be with their friends or do it on themselves. Sports a big thing. That I'm not counting that as after school, but that's we have football term 1, volleyball term 2, basketball term 3, and cross country term 4. That tends to be very popular and Model United Nations, but otherwise they just want to do their own thing rather than do after school. However, if there is a bunch of students who want to do something like, I don't know, making a backpack that's a jetpack as well, I don't know, whatever, or robotics, we will open it, but we just haven't found it's very popular.
Do they have a lot of homework?
So my daughter's in grade 9. I don't think there's an excessive amount of homework. And I'm okay with that because I mean, whatever, there's a study that says this and a study that says that, but I do believe that coming home is all about just being a young person, not being overstressed. It does happen. I don't find it's excessive amount. And I'm okay with that.
Thank you.
My daughter must do, I don't know, anywhere from 15 minutes to at most an hour a day, at most. And sometimes there's none, I have to say. But she also works pretty fast. So
And do you have your own swimming pool, right, at the premises?
we don't, and that's but we do have one nearby that we use. There's a lot of, yeah, we do have one nearby. We've got a swim program sometimes, not every term. But there is one close by, and a lot of the kids go to the beach anyway to go swimming there.
And what about where do they do football or basketball? Is there a place to do that?
Yeah, so we have 2 pitches for football, one bigger than the other one, and then basketball. We've got our the Arc, which is a multi purpose building, so they can do basketball there. They do volleyball there too. Volleyball is super popular. So all that's there, and cross country, they just do it around the neighborhood. So all that's set. The swimming is a bit different, but we do have access to it. Most students go through first aid surf rescue, which is learning how to just making sure that they're safe in the water because we have so many water-based activities. But I have to say, most of the water-based activity happen in the ocean, be it diving or sailing or surfing or whatever it might be, just go straight into the ocean. We've got a student, it's called SOAP. It's a Student Ocean Ambassador Program. And that gets them out into the water and learning about the ocean and caring for the ocean. So we try to take them there as much as possible.
Do they go to school on Saturday, or
No.
Saturday's completely free?
Completely free.
Mhm.
Completely free. Indonesia does often, but not green school. Anything else? Scott, you there? All right.
May I ask again then if no
Oh,
one wants to?
go ahead. Go ahead.
What do teenagers who attend green school do after school? How do they socialize?
That depends, right? That depends. So sometimes they just go home. Sometimes they go hang out at each other's houses. Sometimes they go to the beach. It really depends. It depends on where they live. Canggu is different from Ubud, which is different from Sanur, which is different from Sibang. My daughter plays football one, two, three, four times out of five. So every day but Tuesday. Um, and then she comes home and she just chills out in her room. She has her friend that lives nearby. She comes over, so they go to each other's houses. Um, it just depends. My daughter's 15, so that's in the middle. They're fairly small grades. It's about 30 to 38 in every grade, but it's also mixed age. So we have a high school that's about 110. And there's a lot of intergrade friendships. But it just it's as different as the students that we have. I know my daughter balances well her social life and her, oh my gosh, I just need to be at home alone life too.
And where would you suggest to live if you want to live close to school? Like, I can't stand driving from Canggu to green school. I cannot imagine doing that every day. So,
I live in Siam, which is just west of Ubud. It takes me 25 minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New Kuning, anything west of Ubud probably takes you 25, 30 minutes tops. I never take more than 30 minutes.
Okay. West of Ubud. Okay. Thank you.
And it depends on what you like to live, right? I mean, Canggu is all about beach. Ubud is more hippie jippies. Sanur is a little bit more, that, but I'm with you.
I just think it would take at least an hour to drive from Canggu, right? At least.
I don't want to speak to that, but I wouldn't be surprised on some days. Yeah. 45 minutes. I don't know. Mhm. Anything else in the 4 minutes?
What's the ratio of boys and girls?
Oh, gosh, tough question. I don't know off the top of my head, but if I were to guess, do you know what the ratio is, Pakadi? I'm gonna, yeah,
For the it's a female on top, like
by a little bit, right?
by 3 to 5%.
Really? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Good. So I was gonna say, yeah, about 55% girls, 45% boys. Pakadi is saying, yeah, 3 to 5%. I don't see a major imbalance in any class at all. So it tends to be that.
Is it one of each classes, or are there multiples, like multiple year 7, multiple year 8?
Good question. There are 2 years 6, 2 years 7, 2 years 8, and high school is just one grade 9, one grade 10. But remember, they pick and choose their courses, so they kind of no class has more than 20 students. So even if there are 38 grade 9s, no class will have more than 20 students. So half the grade 9s will go here, half the grade 9s will go there. Um, in middle school, there's a lot of mixed grade classes. So math is mixed aged and math is mixed aged. Regenerative design is mixed class, so all grade 7s. The electives are mixed age. The Jalans are mixed age. I think that's it. Oh, uh, physical well-being, like PE, is mixed age. So those, sorry, mixed class. So they do tend to be together a lot, but there are 2 grades for middle school or 2 classes per grade.
And you know how the school is very open, right? So how do you find that heat? Like, how do
Mhm.
kids, how do they feel?
Okay, so this is fascinating. So in October, it's hot, and that's the worst months. And it is true that in the afternoons, it's harder. And that's why in the afternoons, we tend to have the classes that are less, I'm generalizing because I don't actually think this, but I'm just gonna generalize that are less like cerebral, like no math, no literacy in the afternoons. It tends to be more practical arts, more doing things, more body movement classes. I'm generalizing and simplifying, but you understand what I mean. But interestingly, students wear jeans and sweatshirts every day. And that's because it's a sign that they've been there for a while and that they can handle it. So there's kind of a symbol attached to wearing a sweatshirt. So my daughter walks in with a sweatshirt and jeans, and I am like sweaty and disgusting, but that's what they do. So there's a weird Gen Z thing, another weird Gen Z thing that I just don't understand that's there. So they tend to do okay with the heat. We all do, actually. We all get used to it. Like right now, it's I'll tell you what degree it is. I don't know. It's 28 degrees, and I am cool as anything. I'm just used to it now. I could probably wear jeans right now. See the other one? Oops. In 1 minute. So the heat's actually okay. All our buildings as well get a lot of ventilation. So it does get warm, but it's you just get used to it after a while. And you take a shower in the evening and you're good. Even the parents get used to it. Anything else? Do high school stay back after school for playtime? Sometimes they do, not a lot. They just tend to go, to be fair. Talk about language arts curriculum. So we don't call it language arts, we call it literacies. And that's because there's many different ways of expressing oneself. I really believe in developing oracy skills. And of course, there's digital media and there's written media and there's pen and pencil and there's a whole bunch of different things. And it's all and if so what we do is it still nevertheless looks the same as in most schools. We have genres, be it information text, well, middle school at least, information text, explanatory text, persuasive text, creative writing. So that tends to look the same in middle school. In high school, it might be more literature based. So it depends on the books and the themes that are going on. And then the writing comes through those texts. And we really are trying to create literacies experiences that are going to be about really touching into regenerative practices. So thinking more about how we might work with the other than human world, indigenous wisdoms, even some of our own ways of knowing that might be different. So that might look different from reading To Kill a Mockingbird. But I've got to go. Bye.